Welcome, everyone. We're going to wind the music down and get started. So, team, if we could turn the music off, that'd be great. Awesome. Welcome. My name is Jennifer Parrish Taylor. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am the Director of Advocacy and Public Policy at the Urban League of Portland. And welcome to Our Voices United, our legislative brief as we head into Oregon's short legislative session. Today's event will be recorded, so if you'd like to turn off your camera, that's perfectly fine, and we encourage you to do so. If you've got other things going on or you just don't want to be on camera, that's also fine. And we ask that you please remember to stay muted until the question portion of the event, where we hope that y'all will have lots of questions and that we have the answers. Next slide. And so I want to start with, who is Department of Advocacy and Public Policy? Well, the Advocacy and Civic Engagement, or ACE Department, works to achieve policy and community change that advances equality, social and economic justice, and civil rights for all African Americans and others in the state of Oregon. Our commitment and responsibility are to have a broader view of all the issues that impact our communities, identify their root causes, and develop solutions informed by the community, which leads to systemic and sustainable change. The ACE Department works to advance the League's mission of economic empowerment and civil rights through building partnerships and coalitions, advocacy, outreach, civic engagement programs. We equip Black Oregonians and others with the tools to influence public policy and legislation. Our advocacy and civic engagement programs are proof that through skillful organizing, Black Oregonians and others influence public policy and legislation and promote racial equity. We push Oregon to be a more just and equitable place to live, work, and thrive. We are advocates and organizers, and we are actively and continuing to pass the torch to the next generation. And so
Hello,
as
all.
we, go ahead. Go ahead,
Apologize.
Miles. No worries.
Hi, Miles Larson here, policy analyst with the Advocacy and Civic Engagement Department. As we just celebrated Martin Luther King Jr. Day, we want to share this photo to kick off Black History Month. The Urban League of Portland invited Dr. King to participate in the annual Equal Opportunity Day, which is still being held annually. Dr. Martin Luther King visited Portland on November 8th, 1961. People were invited to attend his speech at the Civic Auditorium, now the Keller Auditorium, and to make a small donation to pay for his travel expenses. Next slide, please. Oregon's legislative short session begins February 5th and runs until March 10th. Our work during the legislative session is usually focused on criminal justice reform, economic justice, education, environmental justice, food insecurity, government reform, health, housing and homelessness, language justice, voting reform, and workforce development. The ACE Department will be tracking just a handful of bills during this legislative session. For our top priority bills, we will provide testimony, host community events, and push information out on our social media platforms. Our first priority is the Pathways to Empowerment initiative that supports the Project Empowerment program. To talk more about that program is Katrina Holland, our Strategic Engagement Officer and Interim Director of Housing Programs. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Miles. Good morning, everybody. So good to see you. I see some familiar faces and some new faces. My name is Katrina Holland, she, her pronouns. As Miles so graciously introduced, I'm the Strategic Engagement Officer and Interim Director of Housing Programs for the Urban League of Portland. As you heard, our top priority for this legislative session here in the next few weeks is going to be renewing investment in our empowerment program, which all across sort of the agency, the empowerment program has helped to support directly or indirectly over 1,300 individuals last year, according to some of our data that we pulled out of Apricot. So the empowerment program, next slide. The empowerment program is the Urban League's attempt really to sort of invest in communities, housing our people, and really integrate the successful model of Urban League's case management and empowerment programs. So everything from financial empowerment to housing to workforce, et cetera. Empowerment sort of wraps all of that into a nice little bow. And then it's also focused on really strengthening the capacity of Black serving organizations, assuming that we get the money to do so, to do the same thing and really sort of reproduce that successful model that we've had across the entire state. And so this next legislative session is really focused on renewing that investment and, if possible, expanding it so that we can provide more support to more people with this really successful model. As seen on the slide here, we have a menu of services that the empowerment program provides: short-term financial assistance for those that are enrolled in the cohort. There's some one-on-one intensive case management, ensuring that the different gaps that folks may have in achieving long-term stability can be achieved. We do some credit counseling as well as connection to some financial resources, health services, workforce services, and career coaching, peer recovery and mentorship. We help out with transportation in various spaces like hop cards, etc. Support for living independently by increasing self-determination, and life skills by coaching and workshops. And I've heard from some of our participants that it is a life-changing experience. And so we're hoping to expand that. And then, of course, we focus on financial empowerment to reduce debt, improve the credit score, and maintain a monthly budget with support, which, as you know, for a lot of us, we know getting access to banks and credit and all types of wealth building tools has been a long-standing barrier for Black communities. The empowerment program really helps to break those down with some specialized programming. So I'm really excited to support Jennifer in moving this initiative forward this year, and making sure that we get our coins, and make sure that this program continues to flourish and grow. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Katrina. Oh, and we're definitely going to get the investments
Oh, we're gonna
that
get
we were promised in the long session, because this is such important work, as Katrina highlighted. And so I want to talk a little bit about the Economic Equity Investment Program and the funding that we're looking to secure for that program. So Oregon's expanding wealth gap is keeping folks from upward mobility of working families and depriving equal opportunity for our next generation. Whereas in 1980, year that I was almost born, I was born in 81, the median rural Oregonian made 10% less income than their urban counterparts. The difference now sits at 25%. Over the same period, the median taxpayer in Oregon saw only a 15% increase in income compared to a 345% increase for the highest income earners. Stagnant income growth and barriers to home ownership are excluding many Oregonians from building the capital needed to spur equitable economic development, entrepreneurship, and shared prosperity. The Economic Equity Investment Program, or EEIP, created in 2022, directed Business Oregon to provide one-time grants to culturally responsive, community-based organizations with programs that build generational wealth for people experiencing multiple economic risk factors. For the 2024 session, the short session, excuse me, $30 million is requested for these programs that are providing home ownership assistance, small business support, and workforce development. We're hopeful that we'll get those dollars because there is such a need for this program. And so the Economic Equity Investment Acts 2024 will fund organizations for projects that meet at least two economic equity risk factors, such as experience of discrimination because of race or ethnicity, English language proficiency, citizenship status, including enrolled citizenship or verifiable descent with a federally recognized tribe, socioeconomic status, or residence or operation in a rural location. It will deliver results to all corners of Oregon by building affordable housing throughout rural Oregon and providing financial assistance for farm workers and other first-time home buyers, elevating small business development resources and training for entrepreneurs, operating on the Warm Springs and Umatilla Indian reservations and across all of Oregon, offering IDA services to underprivileged youth and providing match saving programs in rural and urban Oregon to help families invest for their futures. Generational wealth gives families the economic stability and agency to create better futures. Um, Measurable changes in Oregon's wealth gap requires continued funding. I will now pass it over to Miles to discuss the next priority.
Thank you so much. So Fair Shot for All recognizes that together, culturally specific organizations, labor unions, and community-based organizations accomplish more. Fair Shot for All was created to build an organization's strength. Each coalition member brings time, people, and resources to our fight against economic, racial, and gender inequality. Uh, One of our top priorities this session is also on the agenda for the Fair Shot for All Coalition, of which the Urban League of Portland is a founder and steering committee member. Each year, our coalition creates the Fair Shot Priority Agenda and the People's Budget to provide Oregon legislators with a clear set of policy and funding priorities to advance racial, gender, and economic justice in our state. Despite harmful walkouts that threatened our families and communities, our legislative champions and supporters held strong to advance forward-thinking policies and investments. In the upcoming legislative session, Oregonians are counting on legislators to make meaningful progress on the state's toughest challenges through strategic investments of our growing budget surplus. There's more work to do to ensure every Oregonian has access to housing, childcare, healthcare, food, justice, and to strengthen our workforce. I will now pass it over to Stephanie to discuss the People's Budget.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Phillips Bridges. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a senior policy analyst in the Advocacy and Civic Engagement Department. I'm going to be discussing the Fair Shot for All People's Budget. The Fair Shot for All coalitions highlighting some of the most pressing unfinished business for this biennium for the 2023 People's Budget. First, we have the housing and rental assistance, which is looking for $63 million. This includes this details that Oregon should invest at least $45 million in homelessness prevention rental assistance, which includes funding the Urban League of Portland and the Oregon Worker Relief Home Fund to provide culturally specific housing stability programs that include rental assistance and critical wraparound services. In addition, $2 million is needed for outreach and navigation services to help tenants living in expiring affordable housing units to avoid homelessness. The second priority for the People's Budget is childcare for Oregon. They're asking for 150 to 225 million. Oregon families have already been shut out of the enrollment for employment-related daycare, also known as ERDC. These subsidies are critical for Oregon families, childcare providers, and employers. Without investments in childcare, parents must cut their working hours or quit their jobs to care for their children. The third priority for the People's Budget is universal representation, asking for 7.5 million. Without representation, immigrant Oregonians are more likely to be deported regardless of the merits of their case. Legislators can build up upon the success of the 2022 Universal Representation Bill by investing 7.5 million to maintain Equity Corps of Oregon, the statewide collaborative of community-based organizations, nonprofits, and attorneys that provide no-cost immigration legal services. The next item is Climate Change Fund, which is asking for 9 million. The Climate Change Fund by Oregon Worker Relief provides financial assistance to agricultural workers when extreme heat or smoke pollution prevents them from working so that they can take care of themselves and their families. This investment plays a crucial role in supporting agricultural workers in Oregon who contribute to the nourishment and well-being of our state. Next, we have the restorative justice asking for 4 million. In 2021, the Oregon legislature allocated 4 million to the Criminal Justice Commission, also known as CJC, to develop the restorative justice grant program. This led to 8 programs serving over 13 counties in the state receiving funding to initiate and or expand restorative justice services. This year, the Oregon legislature has the opportunity to allow these programs to continue by appropriating $4 million to this critical program. Next slide, please. The next priority for the people's budget is the school-based health centers, asking for 8.2 million for programming and 10 million for capital construction. School-based health centers, also known as SBHC, in Oregon deliver quality, affordable, cost effective healthcare to young people and function like a doctor's office located on school grounds. Investment in school based health centers benefit schools, families, communities, and serve thousands of Oregon youth each year. The next priority is the student emergency package that is 6 million. College and university students in Oregon are reporting increased rates of food insecurity, housing instability, and challenges affording and accessing textbooks, transportation, childcare, and other basic needs. The 2024 Student Emergency Needs Package is a bipartisan, student centered effort to support Oregon's basic needs navigators and textbook affordability programs with $6 million in one time emergency funding. The next priority is the Universal Healthcare Governance Board, asking for 0.5 million. A significant barrier to advance so many issues related to racial, gender, and economic justice in the current system's complex complexity and inequitable access to healthcare. The legislature should continue the immediate work of the Universal Healthcare Governance Board with an additional 500,000 this biennium. This funding will help create and develop the positions and systems needed to work with the public, employers, and other stakeholders to achieve success. The final priority for the people's budget is healthy homes, asking for 15 million. 54% of Oregonians live in housing built before 1978 that is energy inefficient and in need of repairs and weatherproofing. Families with low income, families living in rural and tribal communities, and individuals that identify as Black, Indigenous, and people of color are the most at risk due to decades of redlining and other discriminatory practices. Funding for healthy homes is expected to run out in 2024. Oregon should build upon this initial investment from 2021 and to make sure that all Oregonians can be healthy in their homes. By prioritizing these investments in economic, racial, and gender justice, we can continue to strengthen our overall economy and create lasting prosperity for all Oregonians. I will now pass it over to Jennifer for questions.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. And so we've gone over our set of priorities, and you will notice that it's not super long compared to the long session that we had previously. And that's because we have, a little over 30 plus days to get our work done. And there's a lot of unfinished business from the previous long session, due to walkouts that we have to pick up this session. And so while we do have, this small targeted list of priorities, there will be opportunities throughout session for partners and other community groups and legislators to ask for and solicit our support on their issues. And we will review those asks as they come in and make recommendations either for support or polite no thank you. And so that's really going to be our focus this session. So I really want to open up the conversation to any questions folks may have. Just so please feel free to come off mute or to put something in the chat. And I see our illustrious vice president has a question.
Hi, I have a more comment than a question. I just want to make sure that it's clear to everybody here that for the EEIP, which is the Economic Equity Investment Program, that Urban League is a recipient of that funding as well. So we talked just a little bit about our specific ask and the special appropriation for our empowerment program, but I just wanted to jump in to talk a little bit about our how the Urban League is serving the community with those resources as well. And I just want to maybe make note, Urban League applied for $850,000 from the EEIP program, and we only received half of that, which it's kind of just a thorn in my side because I like to get all of the resources that are coming to our community and make sure that we have an opportunity to present them. But nonetheless, the point is that this This program is really doing some cool work at Urban League. So we are giving direct grants to Black small business owners throughout the community, throughout the state, actually, because it's a statewide program. So just recently they did a series of interviews for grants. These are grants to small businesses, I believe up to $10,000. That could be a life-changing effect on a small business or a micro enterprise. Like that can take your business from you are just getting by to like you're able to take it to the next level, to take it to scale. And we've all seen that happen with small businesses and how wonderful that can be. They're also doing a lot of like financial empowerment curriculum built into our youth program and our other programs. And then there's a really, really cool workforce development training component of our program, our EEIP program, where we're providing paid on-the-job training. So any employer, a lot of times people who are exiting incarceration or who are ready to work but just don't have that work experience, they're not finding employers that are really willing to take a chance on them, right? We've all kind of been in that boat, or at least, known folks who have. So what we do at Urban League is that we will pay for that person's paycheck while they work at a company, develop skills, and kind of do a little trial period, a little on-the-job training period. And whether they stay at that company full-time after, or they still have those skills in their pocket and they can take them to the next company, it's a really unique model to get away from barriers. So this is critical work that we're doing here at Urban League. And so when we go to advocate for that, we have wonderful success stories to carry forward. And I just want to make sure everybody knows about it and is taking that advocacy, to the Capitol. Not really a question, just
I
excited.
no, but I really appreciate that comment because I think it also underscores the need for resources such as this. When we initially advocated for the Equity Investment Act, we asked for $50 million, and we got 30. And so that's usually the case where you ask for what you need and you often are given less than that. And so we have to continuously come back and ask for more dollars until we can find a sustainable funding mechanism to support those programs. And so that's why we're back. And we'll be working with Representative Bynum's office, who's a champion on this issue, to really push for additional dollars because there is such a need. And so that we can get the remainder of the $800,000 that we ask for to continue to do this work. But yeah, thank you so much. I really want to open it up to other folks. If you have comments or if you have questions, all are welcomed. I know that we have a lot of staff on this call, and I know that y'all aren't shy. So if I got to call on folks, I will. Yes, Charles, thank you so much.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Excuse me. I have a question about I think it was on the last slide about people who are homeowners. And it was, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it was for, yeah, Healthy Homes, 15 million. Is that um, a budget for individuals who need home repairs? I've had a few requests from family members throughout Portland who have homes and they need their homes to be, what is it called, when the insulation.
Yeah,
Insulation is
retrofitting and all
no,
of that.
yeah, insulation is no good. The houses, of course, was, I think, built in the 60s, late 60s. So is that fund of money geared towards individuals like that?
Yeah, I mean that's a prime example. So you have a home that was built before 1978, and it sounds like it's pretty energy inefficient if it needs to have its insulation really addressed and replaced. So this would be an example of someone that could apply to this fund. And if they're approved, get those dollars to do that weatherproofing and retrofitting of their home to make sure that it is energy efficient. And what we can do, and so as we're advocating for those dollars, unfortunately, the money is scheduled to run out this year, and that's why we're going back to get additional dollars. If and when we are successful, no, I'm going to say when we are successful, we'll be sure to share out that information. But what we can do in the meantime is share out the information now to see if there's any possibility of getting on a wait list, because I'm not entirely sure where they are in terms of if their funding has run run out now or if it's going to run out, later in the year. But we can make sure that you have that information.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Okay, well, seeing none, I will say that the ACE team here at the Urban League of Portland is always available, and we'll have our information at the end of the presentation. But we do want to take a moment and have folks do some action. So I'm going to turn it back over to Miles.
All right, hello all. So we just want to take a moment to share that on March 6th, we are hosting our Voices United Legislative Day of Action in Salem. During this event, you will meet with legislators and help advocate for the Urban League of Portland's priorities before the legislative session ends. We will provide training, transportation, and food. This is the time to use your voice to advocate for our community. Legislators want to hear from you. Please click on the link in the chat to register. It looks like that link did just get dropped in there. And next slide, please. We got one more action for y'all. So please tell lawmakers to fund the people's budget in 2024. We'll be dropping a link in the chat in just a second. Please take a moment to visit the people's budget link in the chat to send a customizable letter to your legislator. All you have to do is enter your name, contact information, and hit send. It's that easy. Thank you so much for listening to those two actions, and I will pass it back over to Stephanie to close us out for today.
Miles,
Go.
Yes, sir.
I got a question about that Salem trip. Is that open to our participants? Because I know last year I had a couple of them who signed up for it, and one actually went.
Yes, sir. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, yes, it is open to staff. It is open to participants. It's open to community members. It's open to our community partners. We really want to have a strong showing. We got a bus that can accommodate 50 folks. So we encourage you all to get signed up and we'll make sure you get there and back safely. And as was said, we'll make sure folks get fed, make sure you get trained up so that you feel comfortable going into these situations. But yeah, it's going to be, I think, a great opportunity to really demonstrate not only the support for the Urban League of Portland and our issues, but just really to demonstrate how much of a force we are in the building and in the community. But Katrina, you had your hands up.
Yeah, I just wanted to tag along to your comments. And great question, Charles. As a matter of fact, not only they should. So I would say all staff who are here and present right now is a great time to start talking about getting them signed up for the Legislative Day of Action. Individual stories for folks that have been helped by Urban League programs are one of the most successful tools we have in our tool belt to make sure to really bring to life what it is that we say to our legislators. Because, people like me and Jennifer, we're in the building all the time. They see our faces. They know we got something to say, and they know we come to ask for something, or we're coming to demand something and we need their response. But when participants show up and they're telling their stories of how they overcame a certain thing, or the Urban League supported them this way, or it got me through this particular situation, it is extremely impactful. So I would definitely encourage folks to start talking to your participants now and registering them.
That was a great question. Yeah, Tyrone.
Sorry about that. It was accident.
No worries. Great. Stephanie?
Alrighty, so we just want to say thank you everyone for joining us today for our 2024 Our Voices United Legislative Brief. There are a lot of actions we've asked you to take. Please take a moment to check them. Also, some links we've dropped here about healthy homes and the people's budget. To ensure that we continue to improve upon our programming and maintain programming that is reflective of our community's needs and interests. We've dropped a survey here in the chat. If you could please take a moment to take that survey. And we just want to thank you again for joining us for our event today. And if you have any questions about today's presentation, or if you'd like to sign up for any for our subscription newsletter to learn about our activities coming up, please email ace@ulpdx. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks all. We appreciate it. And we're happy to give you 30 minutes back. And as Stephanie mentioned, if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. And we will keep you informed of where we are in our process, and let you know for sure when we are successful, and welcome you all to celebrate with us when that happens. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great one.
Thank you all for attending.
Take care, everyone.